So thank you very much for being here. What I'd like to do is really just start off the conversation with a simple question. And that question is, what does it mean to be human? And before you answer that question, I ask that you just take a moment and really think about it. What does it mean to be human?
Hace unos días, expertos han tenido una reunión en el Congreso. El tema, ya os podréis imaginar, la existencia de seres extraterrestres. Y digo yo, ¿por qué hay tanto interés en este tema? ¿No os parece extraño? Es que no hay problemas como la crisis, en definitiva, otros problemas que abordar. Es evidente que hay algo detrás de todo esto. Y bueno, los asistentes y los congresistas pudieron hacer allí preguntas a, por ejemplo, a una astrobióloga de la NASA llamada Mary Boytek, a una especialista en exploración planetaria de la Universidad de Massachusetts que se llama Sarah Seeger, y un experto en historia de la ciencia llamado Stephen Dick. En todos sus discursos abogaron con fervor por una mayor financiación para sus investigaciones relacionadas con la búsqueda de civilizaciones extraterrestres. Pero desde luego lo más increíble de esta conferencia ocurrió al final, cuando un republicano congresista llamado Ralph Hall le preguntó a los astrobiólogos y a los científicos si creían que había vida ahí fuera. Y atended a lo que respondió Sarah Seeger, la especialista en exploración planetaria. Ella respondió estas palabras: la posibilidad es muy alta. La pregunta es, ¿hay vida cerca de aquí? Creemos que las probabilidades son altas. No sé si están en Nueva York o en alguna pequeña ciudad de Indiana, pero la diversidad de la vida aquí en la Tierra es fenomenal. ¿Qué opináis de la increíble respuesta que ha dado Sarah Seeger?
What is a good percentage to quote, in your opinion, of UAP activity that is being tracked beneath the oceans as compared to activity in the skies?
Yikes. Again, I'm going to politely pass on that question because in order to answer that question, you have to be aware of what capabilities exist, and I probably shouldn't go near that question right now. That's a question that probably Congress has asked and will probably hopefully be provided with some report for them. But right now, I'll deflect that politely, and maybe next interview I'll be able to answer that a little bit more succinctly.
Okay, I totally understand that perspective. Again, I had to try.
Eyewitness accounts of UFOs have been documented on the Solomon Islands for years. And mysteriously, details reveal that the UFOs seem to rise out of the surrounding ocean where warships sank in World War II and vanish into a remote mountain lake on the island.
People often talk about seeing light not only in the sky, but in the ocean as well. That you see lights in the ocean, and then you see lights flying past overhead as well, and sometimes crashing into the ocean like a plane crashing.
There have been sightings of flying saucers appearing over the wreckage, flying into and out of mountains and volcanoes in the area. So the whole area is really pretty interesting.
There have been reports that objects, strange lights, actually rise up out of the waters into the air and move about for a period of time and then disappear. And often this is either witnessed from the beach or is experienced at close hand by fishermen. And it's said that sometimes these objects come so close that the fishermen can actually feel the heat as they pass.
There was a lot of local people who had said, yes, for many years we've seen these types of things happening.
There are numerous accounts of abductions, people who disappear after coming into contact with these UFOs, never to be seen again. Could there be a connection between the legends of the giants of Guadalcanal and the numerous UFO sightings that have been reported here over the years? And might this be evidence that Guadalcanal really is the site of an underwater alien base? Some ancient astronaut theorists believe the answers can be found by examining stories of other strange creatures said to inhabit the island. Creatures like the Adaro.
The Adaro are frightening-looking creatures, half fish, half man. They were said to have come from the sun by way of rainbows. They could be dangerous. They could shoot poisonous flying fish at you. So the notion of some creature that was of danger and mythological qualities coming from far away seems alive and well in the Solomon Islands.
Chua Chua is a story that a lot of people on Guadalcanal know about, that these are actually human beings, but at certain time they take different forms.
These are energies that can shapeshift into any form. These are not just stories for entertainment or for scaring the children. These fears are great.
You have to wonder if these famous giants of the Solomon Islands and these weird beings were in fact extraterrestrials that were there to protect these secret bases.
Is it possible that the stories of giants, sea monsters, and other strange beings on Guadalcanal are really accounts of extraterrestrials who appear as frightening creatures in order to scare off anyone who might discover their secret alien bases?
The Solomon Islands is right on what we call the Ring of Fire, a lot of volcanic activity, a lot of tectonic and geo activity. So there's a lot of energy there. One theory would simply be that if these other beings, whatever they are, wanted access to a good source of energy, that might be a very good place to go.
July 2009. The Russian government declassifies top-secret documents detailing U.S.O encounters with the Russian Navy. Stunning first-hand accounts of extraterrestrial encounters shock the Russian people and ignite interest from the world's UFO research community. But how could such compelling accounts have been kept secret for so long? And why?
The problem that we had in the Soviet era, prior to 1992, you're dealing with fundamentally a totalitarian system in which UFOs and U.S.Os were not to be talked about. So there was a lot of secrecy. And with the end of the Soviet Union and the release of some of those files that we now have had access to, one of them concerns an undated account of a Russian submarine in the South Pacific.
A Russian nuclear sub encountered a formation of what appeared to be alien spacecraft at depth under the water.
At a depth of approximately 260 meters, crew aboard a fully weaponized Russian nuclear submarine detect 6 unknown objects on their sonar, traveling in formation directly towards them.
What's even more alarming is the speed at which the objects are traveling, in excess of 265 miles per hour.
This was hugely unnerving for these highly trained military personnel, and it was quite unlike anything they'd ever seen or experienced before.
6 disc-shaped objects traveling in formation continue on their trajectory, gaining speed as they head directly towards the submarine.
They were going at incredible speeds, but then when the submarine became alarmed at what was happening with these objects and slowed down its speed, the objects did exactly the same thing, mirroring what the submarine was doing.
The Russian crew are at first stunned by what they're witnessing, then quickly man their battle stations.
The captain, fearing that a collision was imminent and that he was under attack, ordered an emergency surfacing of the submarine.
The submarine finally breaches the surface, narrowly avoiding a collision. But what happens next is even more astonishing.
So here's the Soviet submarine commander dealing with this terrifying situation. They then saw through the periscope these 6 objects come out of the water and take off at some absurdly fast speed.
One can only speculate about the intent of these USOs. Was this a hostile act of some sort, or were they just fleeing detection? We don't know.
Researchers believe what the Russians encountered was a squadron of underwater extraterrestrial spacecraft.
If you can travel that fast underwater, water is just another medium, so their craft can fly underwater just like they can above water. That tells me that these aren't conventional technology. It's nothing earthly made.
What we're dealing with here is very clearly advanced technology. So we have to draw the conclusion that perhaps this is some sort of extraterrestrial technology that we're dealing with. That's what makes this case so compelling. The speed, the movement of the objects, and the rate that they disappeared. It's incredible.
However, the most chilling encounter revealed in Russia's declassified reports doesn't involve unidentified submersible objects, but the alien creatures believed to inhabit them. Siberia, 1982. With a depth of 1,642 meters, Lake Baikal is the deepest freshwater lake in the world. Russian Navy divers are conducting a research mission. Given the depth of the lake and its frigid temperature, little is known about what lies beneath the surface. 7 Russian divers are at a depth of 50 meters, when suddenly the frogmen realize they are being watched.
These strange humanoid figures were much bigger than human beings and appeared to be wearing helmets of some sort. What on earth are we to make of an encounter like this? It's one thing to talk about USOs, but quite another to talk about humanoid entities deep in the lake.
These were large beings, human shaped but like 9 feet tall, wearing what seemed like very tight-fitting silvery suits. Not your normal scuba gear, basically. Swimming in the water, what they've come to call the swimmers of Lake Baikal.
What were these creatures? Why did they not seem to use what we would be using to sustain life? There were no oxygen tanks. So there are lots of interesting facets to this. You have creatures that are underwater and surviving with technology that we don't comprehend.
The Russian divers then make a fateful decision. They try to capture one.
The divers attempted to capture one of these creatures, but at this point, so the documents say, the entities reacted.
A powerful, unknown force suddenly propels the entire group of divers up from the deep water to the surface.
They did a rapid rise to the surface of the water. Well, when you do that too fast, you suffer from decompression and you get the bends, and it's deadly. There were 7 of these divers, and 3 of them died. And 4 were very severely injured as a result of this.
Why did these creatures react the way that they did? I have to think that when we began to act aggressively, when the divers wanted to capture one of these creatures and throw a net over it, that perhaps they were reacting in a defensive way when they expelled the divers to the surface.
If we can believe what we've read in the reports, these are extraterrestrial beings, something otherworldly.
Could these Lake Baikal creatures really be from another world, as UFO researchers believe? According to Russian documents, the surviving divers were too shaken to speak about the incident. But researchers believe the Russian government prevented them from speaking out. And if that's the case, what could they have been trying to keep secret?
They would be concerned about the potential threat, but they'd also be intrigued to know what these entities were, what the technology that they possessed was, and of course, could they acquire that technology themselves? And indeed, weaponization is always something at the back of the mind of any government official looking at the UFO and indeed U.S.O. mystery. If there's a technology down there more advanced than our own, we want it.
UFO investigators believe the Lake Baikal encounter indicates that extraterrestrials may be able to survive frigid water, and that interaction with them comes with risks. But if that's true, where was their craft? Is it possible they've constructed bases deep below the surface?
The oceans are about as remote a place as you can get on this planet. If you want to conduct yourself on a world secretly without a lot of interference, it's actually ideal.
We know less about the deep ocean than we do about the surface of the moon or Mars. It's a complete mystery.
Logically, it makes complete sense to actually hide stuff underwater because it would be very hard for a hostile government to actually find an alien base of some kind under the water. You've got all that protection, the mud, the silt, keeps any visual recognition from happening, so it really makes a lot of sense.
Yikes. I'm